This story begins with a woman preparing to take a bath. She is pregnant. It's cold and raining outside. While she is bathing, she caresses her belly and talks to the baby inside. After bathing, she dresses, stands up, looks out the window, and sees the rain pouring heavily. She lies down on her bed, eats while watching TV. Suddenly, the power goes out, the TV dies, and she checks the lights but they won't turn on. She grabs food from the refrigerator and eats, feeling stomach pain. Due to heavy rain, water enters their house, a sign of flooding. She struggles to move because she's pregnant. She calls her husband, but he doesn't answer. Eventually, the water enters their house, and she can't stop it. Her stomach pain continues. The water rises, reaching the window, breaking it, and flooding the house. She is taken to the hospital and gives birth. The doctor says she needs to deliver the baby, so she pushes deeply, and the baby comes out. The doctor gives the baby to her, and she holds her crying child. Her husband arrives, and they are given instructions by the doctor. They decide to name the baby Zeb. They go home in the rain, and her husband shields the baby with an umbrella. They arrive home but find it still flooded, so they decide to go to their parents' house. They drive, listening to the radio. They reach a checkpoint due to flooding, but they are allowed to pass. They arrive at her parents' house, where her mother welcomes them and invites them in. They show their child to her mother, who is delighted. They are fed. Another woman arrives, known to the husband's mother. When she sees the husband, she cries and leaves, followed by the husband's mother. The husband's father explains that the woman's daughter hasn't returned since the flood began. The husband's wife visits the woman's house and asks about her. The woman puts her child on a soft surface, and the husband takes the child. Suddenly, thunder is heard, and they decide to go inside. The child is crying and needs milk, so the mother feeds her. The child falls asleep, and the husband lies down next to his wife, and they fall asleep too. They wake up in the morning, and the husband entertains their child. This is seen by the husband's father, who imitates him, amusing the child. Night falls, and they listen to the news, learning that it has been 3 months since the massive flooding, and food shortages have begun. They feel like they're on an island. The husband takes the child and entertains her. The husband needs to leave to make a living. He leaves, leaving the woman at home. She takes care of the child. One night, the woman tells stories to the child and cleans her clothes. The woman cooks for them. Suddenly, she notices something at the door. Someone knocks loudly, startling her. She opens the door, and a man she doesn't know enters with a child. She feeds them, and after they eat, they leave. Morning comes, and the child is still crying. The woman can't handle it anymore, so she leaves her inside the house and lets her cry. The woman goes outside and lights a cigarette. She realizes the child needs milk. She stops smoking and goes inside to give the child milk, apologizing to her. The child stops crying after drinking milk. Her husband and his father arrive. Her husband is crying and bleeding. The woman approaches her husband's father, who is also bleeding. The woman looks inside the car and sees blood. She notices that the husband's mother is no longer there. She died. Her husband is extremely saddened, he cries every night. The woman takes their food from the car. It's not much and not enough for them. She sees that her husband's father is dazed. The woman goes to the husband's unfinished house, and the woman's husband's wife visits her and asks about her. The woman sits near the window, and it suddenly rains heavily, so she wraps her child and goes home. She meets her husband's father outside, and the woman offers to make him hot coffee, but he prefers to walk around. It's raining heavily. The woman knocks on the door, and her husband opens it. They suddenly hear a gunshot nearby. Her husband goes to check it out. The woman's husband's father committed suicide. Her husband is deeply saddened again. He sits in the bathtub and grieves. The woman talks to him. Her husband says they can't stay in that house because they have no food. They ride a car and go where there are relief goods or food for the victims. There are many people there, crowding to get food. The woman says if her husband can't go out, she'll find a way. Her husband is traumatized because her husband's mother died here. It was a stampede due to the crowd. The woman goes out and joins the crowd to get relief goods. She almost gets it, but she's told it's the last batch of food. The woman spends the night inside the car in a secluded place. The couple goes to a shelter, and while inside the car, they hear that only one parent can bring the child inside the shelter. Her husband insists on bringing the child inside, where she will be better cared for. The woman agrees, and she enters the shelter, where a woman assists her and shows her where to rest. There are many people there, and they sleep. They sleep side by side. A fight breaks out. A muscular man gets angry because another man took his pillow. Chaos ensues. They eat, and the woman meets someone like her, who has a child. They talk about their past lives. The woman hands her child to her and smokes a cigarette. She gets mad, remembering her husband. She hurts herself. Night falls, and everyone is asleep, but the woman's child is still crying. The woman does everything to calm her down. Her acquaintance notices this and helps her calm the child. One morning, rebels enter the shelter. They take the food there, and people panic and run away. The woman sees her acquaintance running to the car, so she follows her. They ride the car and leave the shelter. 2 men are with them in the car, and they drive fast, so the woman asks them to slow down. They stop the car and get off. They walk and look for food inside a house, but they don't find any. A man sees them and offers them food, which they accept. The woman feeds the child, and they talk. Night comes, and the 2 women get drunk, enjoying themselves with the man. The man tells them what happened to him. Morning comes, and they start walking towards the coast. They sing as they walk. They reach the coast but find no one there. The woman's friend notices a boat far away and calls it. They ride the boat, holding hands. They reach an island, where her friend is welcomed by her acquaintances, who are overjoyed. The woman is stunned to see her husband from afar. It turns out to be just her imagination. The woman calls her friend, who happily accepts her friends. They stay in a house, where everything is fine and there's always food. The woman and her friend talk, discussing their hardships. One morning, the woman went to the sea and bathed. While bathing, she remembered happy memories with her husband. She talked to the leader of a commune and expressed her feelings. This wasn't the woman's home. She wanted to leave there. Her friend tried to stop her from leaving, but this was what the woman wanted, so they rowed the boat again, and the woman was dropped off where they were found. The woman traveled with her child. They walked and walked until they got hungry. They found a dead goat, cooked it, and ate. They continued their journey until they met a woman and a man. She asked if she could hitch a ride to the city, but the woman said it wasn't possible, so the woman pretended to walk. She saw that a car was unlocked, so she quickly got in and locked the door. The car owner tried to open the door, but it was locked. The woman stole the car and left. The woman reached the city and saw a shelter there. She also saw faces of people posted on a wall. She stayed there. The woman thought about returning to their old house. She left the shelter and hitched a ride on a boat because the entire area was flooded. They reached their old house, and the woman went up and fixed the damaged items. Suddenly, her husband arrived, and they lived happily. And that's where the story ends. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please consider subscribing, giving it a thumbs up, and turning on notifications for more updates. Your support means a lot.